They have built a world designed for your comfort, your distraction, and ultimately, your diminishment. Your quiet despair, your unacknowledged stagnation, is their silent, ongoing victory. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who wielded his pen like a hammer, the prophet of the self-overcoming man, the Übermensch, saw the blueprint of this age with terrifying clarity. He wasn't merely critiquing the crumbling idols of 19th-century Europe. He was issuing a chilling, timeless warning about the last man, the docile, uninspired, comfort-addicted creature that modern society actively, almost systematically cultivates. Make no mistake, this is not some unforeseen consequence of progress. The pervasive decay of authentic masculine vitality in modern men is not a random drift. It is, in countless insidious ways, an engineered outcome. Today, we will drag into the light the mechanisms of this engineering, guided by Nietzsche's devastating insights. What he forewarned is no longer a distant threat. It is your daily reality, and you must understand it. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche introduces the last man with visceral contempt. Alas, the time of the most despicable man is coming, he that is no longer able to despise himself. The earth has become small, and on it hops the last man, who makes everything small. This last man is the epitome of mediocrity, seeking only warmth, petty daily pleasures, and an absence of strife. A little poison now and then. That makes for pleasant dreams, and much poison at the end for a pleasant death. One still works, for work is a form of entertainment, but one is careful lest the entertainment be too harrowing. Does this portrait send a shiver of recognition down your spine? Consider the landscape of your existence, a ceaseless deluge of digital entertainment, algorithmically tailored to your most superficial desires. A culture that increasingly pathologizes discomfort, that frames resilience as a trauma response and ambition as a character flaw. The relentless pursuit of greatness, the very fire that forged heroes and innovators of the past, is now often dismissed as unbalanced or problematic. Nietzsche foresaw that such a civilization, obsessed with eliminating suffering and maximizing base comfort, would inevitably breed a profound spiritual enervation, a flattening of the human spirit into a bland, homogeneous paste. He wrote, "Man does not strive for happiness. Only the Englishman does that." He meant that the pursuit of mere contentment, of this sanitized happiness, is a betrayal of humanity's higher potential, the potential for tragic grandeur, for creation in the face of suffering. The architects of your comfortable cage, the unseen forces that shape cultural narratives and societal expectations, have a vested interest in your complacency. They don't want you to strive, to overcome, to become a force that might disrupt their carefully managed equilibrium. A population of last men is docile, predictable, easily manipulated by the bread and circuses of the digital age. Your latent capacity for true, world-altering power, your will to power, is the very energy they seek to siphon off or neutralize. This isn't about iron-fisted tyranny. It's far more subtle. It's the pervasive, gentle conditioning that whispers from every screen, every curated experience, be small, be safe, be satisfied with the crumbs they offer you. Don't look up. The truth they desperately try to obscure is that this engineered comfort is a gilded cage, designed to keep your soul in permanent lockdown. The cost of this safety is your very essence. Nietzsche's forensic analysis of morality, particularly in On the Genealogy of Morality, unveils the concept of a transvaluation of values. This is the historical, psychological, and societal process by which the values of the strong, the noble, the master morality, which affirms life, embraces power, defines good from a position of strength, creativity, and self-confidence, were subverted and replaced by slave morality. Slave morality, born from the resentment of the weak, defines good as that which alleviates suffering for the herd, pity, kindness, humility, patience. Its evil is precisely what master morality deems good: power, ambition, independence, a touch of joyful cruelty towards oneself in the name of growth. Now scrutinize the prevailing moral lexicon of our times. Traditional masculine virtues: assertiveness being reframed as aggression, stoic resolve as emotional unavailability, protectiveness as paternalistic control, ambition as greed, the capacity for righteous anger as mere rage, even the drive for competence and mastery as somehow exclusionary. These are not accidental semantic shifts. They are the echoes of Nietzsche's slave revolt in values, amplified and weaponized in the modern era. Strength, particularly male strength, is systematically associated with toxicity. Self-reliance is decried as a refusal to be vulnerable, a vulnerability often exploited. The innate human drive to conquer challenges, to build empires, whether literal or metaphorical, to lead from the front, is viewed with deep suspicion, if not outright hostility. What is good? All that heightens the feeling of power, the will to power, power itself in man. What is bad? All that proceeds from weakness. This is Nietzsche unfiltered. Yet, what is the dominant cultural sermon? You are told that your inherent drive for power, for significance, for self-overcoming is the problem. You are encouraged, often shamed, into diluting your natural assertiveness, to offer perpetual apologies for your ambition, to internalize a pervasive, unearned guilt for the very vital force that constitutes your masculine core. This meticulously crafted inversion is an extraordinarily effective instrument of social engineering. By demonizing the very psychological traits that historically characterized potent, creative, and sovereign masculinity, they, the shapers of acceptable opinion, the gatekeepers of cultural narratives, render men hesitant, riddled with self-doubt, and ultimately far easier to manage and direct. The lion is systematically convinced, through 1,000 daily cultural microdoses, that he should bleat like a sheep, all for the supposed good of the flock. A flock, it must be said, often managed by shepherds who have a clear unspoken interest in his defanged, declawed state. They do not want you to be a creator of values, a self-determining spiritual aristocrat in Nietzsche's sense. They desperately need you to be a passive consumer of their pre-approved, anemic, and controlling ideologies. The truth they actively labor to conceal is that your supposed toxicity is very often the raw, untamed expression of your life-affirming strength, a strength they instinctively fear and seek to geld. God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. When Nietzsche uttered these infamous words, he wasn't expressing triumph. He was diagnosing a cataclysm, the collapse of the foundational meaning-making structures of Western civilization. This death of God, the erosion of transcendent values, creates a terrifying vacuum. Into this void seeps nihilism, the creeping conviction that life is without objective meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. And modern society, sometimes through deliberate manipulation, often through sheer intellectual laziness and spiritual cowardice, relentlessly pushes men in particular towards this desolate abyss. When your natural drive for achievement is labeled problematic, when traditional sources of male identity and purpose are systematically dismantled without offering robust, life-affirming alternatives, what remains for countless men? A gnawing emptiness, a profound sense of dislocation and purposelessness. This is the poisoned soil in which the herd instinct takes deepest root. Nietzsche held an unshakable contempt for herd morality, the powerful human tendency to conform, to outsource one's thinking to the collective, to seek validation not from inner strength, but from external approval, to shrink from the terror and glory of individuality. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, he observed. If you try it, you will be lonely often, and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Yet the modern world is a deafening symphony of herd signals. The relentless chase for likes and followers on social media, the valorization of consensus thinking, the pervasive fear of cancellation for any perceived transgression against rapidly shifting ideological orthodoxies, the immense pressure to adopt the latest cultural fads without a moment of critical reflection. These are the sophisticated digital sheepdogs herding you into compliant mediocrity. They do not want sovereign individuals, capable of independent thought and judgment. They want predictable, interchangeable nodes within their network of control. The engineered decay of masculine vitality thrives in this environment. A man adrift on the sea of nihilism, clinging desperately to the transient approval of the herd for a fragile semblance of identity, is a man who will not challenge entrenched power, will not build anything of lasting worth, will not strive for anything beyond what the collective deems acceptable and safe. He becomes a passenger in his own life, his will to power, that fundamental Nietzschean drive to grow, to expand, to overcome, either extinguished or, more perversely, redirected into trivial pursuits, virtual achievements, and impotent online squabbles. What they desperately don't want you to grasp is the foundational Nietzschean insight. That meaning is not something passively found, but something actively, arduously, and heroically created. And that act of creation is precisely what they labor to discourage, for it is the ultimate act of rebellion. Nietzsche, with his profound understanding of human drives, knew the immense power of desire. But what becomes of this power when it is subjected to relentless engineered hyperstimulation, yet systematically denied genuine deep satisfaction? What happens when it is cunningly channeled into a state of perpetual unfulfilled longing, an eternal adolescence that stunts true psychological growth? Look around you. We are immersed in a culture that is simultaneously hypersexualized and deromanticized. The gamification of relationships, the commodification of human connection, the constant, overwhelming bombardment of digital and material stimuli designed to keep you consuming, chasing, swiping, clicking, yet rarely, if ever, attaining profound, soul-nourishing fulfillment or lasting meaning. This creates and sustains a state of perpetual low-grade agitation, a constant hum of dissatisfaction that keeps you tethered to the superficial, endlessly scrolling for the next dopamine hit. It's a brilliantly effective, almost invisible mechanism of distraction and control. While you are engrossed in the endless pursuit of fleeting pleasures and virtual validation, your deeper potential for focused creation, for building a tangible legacy, for the arduous but rewarding journey of true self-mastery, slowly but surely atrophies. The system feeds on your scattered attention. They offer you the glittering illusion of freedom through an ever-expanding array of choices. But upon closer inspection, it's often a carefully curated selection of pre-approved, ultimately unfulfilling options, different flavors of the same bland meal. The seductive promise of an extended youth, an existence free from the burdens of adult responsibility, is dangled like a perpetually receding carrot. But this engineered eternal adolescence is an insidious trap. It actively prevents the crucial processes of maturation, the shouldering of significant burdens that forge character and temper the soul, the development of the iron self-discipline that Nietzsche identified as absolutely essential for the heroic task of self-overcoming. That which does not kill us makes us stronger, he famously declared. But a society that goes to extraordinary lengths to shield you from all significant hardship, that infantilizes adult men by catering to their lowest impulses and discouraging genuine risk-taking, ensures that very few will ever be forced to discover the true formidable extent of their inner strength. They want you perpetually preoccupied with the trivial, the ephemeral, the easily consumed. They do not want you engaged in the difficult, time-consuming, and potentially system-disrupting labor of forging your own sovereign destiny. The truth they labor to conceal is that genuine, lasting satisfaction comes not from the passive, endless consumption of manufactured desires, but from the active, often painful struggle and ultimate triumph of creation, self-discipline, and the courageous affirmation of your own chosen values. Your chronic distraction is their profit. Your prolonged adolescence is their social stability. So, in this landscape of engineered decay and manufactured mediocrity, what is the Nietzschean antidote? He offers no comforting platitudes, no easy 10-step program. Instead, he presents a formidable, life-altering challenge, the path towards becoming an Übermensch, the overman. This is not, as popularly misunderstood, about attaining some crude form of physical superiority or sociopathic domination over others. Rather, the Übermensch represents a state of profound self-mastery, relentless self-creation, and the unwavering courage to legislate your own values in a world that has emphatically declared God and all transcendent meaning to be dead. The Übermensch does not flee from suffering. He embraces it as an indispensable catalyst for growth, a whetstone for the soul. He consciously rejects the comfortable anesthesia of herd morality and dares to think for himself, even when, especially when, it isolates him. He does not seek meaning externally. He creates it moment by moment through the deliberate affirmation of his will. He views his own life as a work of art, a canvas upon which he strives to paint his highest possibilities, constantly seeking to overcome his present limitations, to affirm life in its entirety, with all its attendant pain, absurdity, and fleeting joys. Become what you are, Nietzsche implored, a deceptively simple injunction that demands a lifetime of ruthless self-excavation. It requires you to meticulously identify and dismantle the layers of conditioning, societal, cultural, familial, that have sedated your spirit and led you astray from your authentic core. It demands that you courageously reject the comforting lies, the easy answers, the pre-packaged identities, and instead embrace the harsh, often terrifying, but ultimately invigorating truths of your own being and the world around you. This is unequivocally not a path for the faint of heart, for the seeker of perpetual comfort. It is in essence a declaration of war, a war waged primarily against your own internal complacency, your own learned helplessness, and secondarily against the myriad societal forces that actively seek to keep you small, predictable, and spiritually neutered. It means questioning everything, especially the dominant narratives that promise effortless solutions and conformity to the lowest common denominator. It means cultivating an iron will, an insatiable hunger for genuine knowledge, not mere information, and the audacity to forge and live by your own self-chosen values, even if they stand in stark opposition to the prevailing winds. They, the engineers of your passivity, count on your inertia. They rely on your fear of solitude, your dread of being ostracized by the herd. Therefore, the most potent act of rebellion in this modern, hyper-controlled age is the conscious, deliberate reclamation of your individual sovereignty. It is the decision to ignite your will to power, not for the petty domination of others, but for the absolute, uncompromising dominion over yourself. This is the forbidden knowledge they desperately hope you never internalize. Your innate, godlike potential for radical self-transformation is the ultimate existential threat to their meticulously constructed fragile order. Nietzsche's stark warning, his prophecy of the last man, echoes with even greater urgency in our hyper-modernized, digitally saturated world. The engineered decay of authentic male vitality is not some distant, abstract philosophical concern. It is an insidious, ongoing project woven into the very fabric of your daily experience. The comfortable cage is indeed alluring, its bars gilded with endless distractions and the false promises of effortless contentment. But the human spirit, your spirit, if it is not yet entirely extinguished, yearns for something more profound than mere existence. It instinctively craves ascendancy, meaning, and the thrill of self-overcoming. The indispensable first step on this arduous journey is to see the engineering for what it truly is, to recognize the subtle, often invisible chains that bind your potential. The truth, as Nietzsche unflinchingly presented it, is undeniably harsh, often brutal, but it is also profoundly liberating, for it thrusts the responsibility and therefore the ultimate power squarely back into your own hands. You are not merely a victim of circumstance. You are a potential creator of your own destiny. The path to becoming what you are, to forging your own values and engraving your own meaning onto the cold indifference of the cosmos, especially in the face of pervasive nihilism and crushing conformity, is the loneliest and most challenging path a man can choose. It demands unwavering courage, a keen and disciplined intellect, and an unyielding, almost fanatical commitment to your own highest, self-defined potential. The looming shadow of the last man is vast and tempting, but the sacred fire of the Übermensch, however small its initial spark, can indeed be kindled within you. This knowledge has been laid before you. What you choose to do with it from this moment forward will define the trajectory not just of your life, but of your very being. The existential struggle for true self-ownership is, in the final analysis, the only war truly worth fighting. Keep seeking the strength, the wisdom, and the audacity to wage it relentlessly. If this message resonated with the truth stirring within you, show your support by hitting the like button. And to continue on this path of uncovering the vital knowledge they don't want you to possess, make sure you subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. The journey to reclaim your power has just begun.